So I mentioned it before, but I recently got back from a cruise. This is only the second cruise I've ever taken in my life. Both cruises were in the last year. I know that the cruise industry has been going on for a while now. People have been taking cruises throughout history for, well, dang, I mean, technically just making it to America is kind of like a cruise. Not a very fun cruise, that's for sure. But I did want to just kind of talk about a couple of things that I have mixed feelings about cruises. My first cruise ever, really enjoyed it. Second cruise, I feel like I would have changed some things a little bit. Now, just to be fully transparent, it was Royal Caribbean that I took, and both times. And one of the biggest things about my experience, why I didn't think the second time was quite as fun, is because it was essentially the same exact thing. The layout of the ship was the exact same. The events that they held on the ship. Now, let me just get this out of the way. I would definitely do another cruise again, but I would want a different cruise line for sure. And I'm now realizing it's the cruises, and if you're going to do cruises and things like that, it really depends on where you're going. The destination of the cruise is now more important than my first cruise. My first cruise ever, it was like, oh, we're on a ship. Whoa, there's all these things to do. I didn't really care that I had taken a cruise in California, and I had so many thoughts after I took that cruise because I was like, wow, I need to go to Miami. I had never been to Miami before because that's the cruise hub. The Caribbean, all that, all the Atlantic Ocean side is the cruise hub. Whereas here in Southern California, for reference, we went to Catalina Island, which is free. You can go to that island for free on your birthday, apparently. A boat will just take you there. And we went to Ensenada in Mexico. Never been to Ensenada. Wasn't that impressed. And I like Mexico, but Ensenada, I'm like, it wasn't that great. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I did enjoy the boat part of the cruise, all that aspect of it. And it's just funny because here I am 9 months later in the second cruise I've ever done, and I'm like, oh, the boat is actually probably the worst part. And I'm sure it depends on your cruises. I've not been on a Carnival cruise. Everyone talks about Carnival cruises. There's so many cruise lines. It's actually insane. I'm shocked at how many cruise lines there are. But I was definitely right about how, first of all, there's a website online where you can find all the different cruise ships they are in the world, and they're mapped out and where exactly their geolocation is in that moment. And it's very true that region, Florida, the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, or the Gulf of America, whatever you want to call it, those regions, that is one of the cruise hubs in the world. You definitely want to go there. And I certainly saw it. I mean, there were so many spots that we were following other cruise ships, first of all. And then when we would roll up on a certain place, we went to the Bahamas. The Bahamas was filled with cruise ships. I've never seen a place attacked by cruise ships like that before. For reference, when I went to Catalina Island, which is a very small, not a very big island at all, a lot of it is actually natured off. You can't go to a lot of Catalina Island, but it was just one boat, and it felt like we were invading this little island, this poor little island. But when we roll up to I almost called it the Obamas, the Bahamas, Obama. When I rolled up to the Bahamas, there were 7 other cruise ships all there. I'm like, holy crap, these poor people. I mean, not really. They were probably living it up. I mean, I was actually surprised at how clearly financially well the touristy spot, the place that they dropped us off in the Bahamas, I was surprised at how well that they were doing. Now, I'm sure when you go deeper into the Bahamas, they're not doing exactly that well. But I was really shocked at how much you could just kind of see all the wealth they had in the main street and by the beaches and things like that. Again, I'm sure that's not how it actually is when you go deeper into those islands. But yeah, so that was definitely the case. There were, like I said, the destination is, I think, more important. When it comes to taking a cruise again, I'm so glad that cruise was not longer than 3 nights, because that would have not, the boat experience, the actual being on the boat is, I'm like, oh yeah, this is not actually the fun part. I think that, so just for reference, I'm still down to do a cruise. I still want more cruises, but I want to do different, cruise lines, like I said. But it's got to be all about the destination. Everyone's talking to me about Alaska cruises. It's not hard. I guess my parents are going to go do that. It's not hard to go up there and get to Alaska from LA. I heard those cruises are absolutely beautiful. And then I'm really focused on like a Mediterranean cruise, like something in Greece. My friends have done that. I really like hitting Greece and hitting all those Greece. I feel like you can't even really hit Greece any other way. Like it really put things into perspective, like how there are certain countries that you probably will get the best experience by just doing a cruise. And Greece is definitely one of them. Another country that kind of pops out to me is like the Philippines, because the Philippines is so many little islands put together. There's probably, I don't know what like the cruise industry is like in the Philippines. There was a lot of Filipino workers on my cruise ship, I'll tell you that. That was very interesting. That's an aspect of the cruises that I do like, is I love how many international people there are to talk to and communicate with and ask about their experiences. But yeah, it's just interesting because there are certain countries that, yeah, they're more made for cruise travel. Like doing like a long cruise through Italy would be amazing. Going up all the way down the peninsula and all the way back up, or maybe even a place like Spain. I guess you could really experience any country through cruises, but there are more countries that kind of require it than others. Like I said, Greece, the Philippines. I don't think so. I don't think you'd want to hit one in Japan, because Japan's got the high speed rail. You can get anywhere in those islands, high speed with a nice train, comfortable train. Why not do that? That's a whole like other separate video idea I think I have. Like, what countries are best to explore cruise wise? Probably like Chile. Chile's big old long country. I don't think they have high speed rail, and you could probably just go all up and down the coast, because it is literally just one giant coastal country. This is what I was talking about earlier, the cruise mapper. I mean, you can really see just how certain parts of the world are more cruise friendly. Obviously, when you have a lot of islands, I mean, the Caribbean is perfect. You can get to multiple different countries on this side, whereas obviously there's just not a whole lot to work with. That's why I think cruise culture, that's why I don't think I ever went on a cruise, is because like in Los Angeles, there's really not that many good destinations. Now, I did read about one cruise that will take you through the Panama Canal. That's like 16 days. That sounds really fun. I don't know if I can do it anymore. That sounded fun like 6 months ago. Now I'm like, I am not so sure. Then you got all the Alaska stuff that's happening up here, which is a pretty big focus. Oh, actually, there's not. Why is that? Where are all the cruise ships up here in Alaska? But just look at Europe. This is crazy. See, I focus so much on the Mediterranean, but you can really see a whole lot in the North Sea, the Baltic Sea, all up into. Oh, these have got to be very cool cruises too. I didn't even think about Norway. Norway's probably perfect as well, especially because it's pretty barren up here. More than the Caribbean, it seems like Europe is much, much bigger. Some of these cruises that are going around, though, how long are these? These must be like, oh, well, we can literally see Viking cruise. Another really funny aspect of it, though, I think that's funny. I always hear, like, so there's certain people that, well, there was a big, like, obviously backlash against cruises. I remember during COVID, and then everyone started coming out against their own experiences or their own negative opinion about different aspects of cruises. I did feel bad for some of those, for some of the workers. I hope that they're getting paid well. I don't know if they are, but I'm like, dang, these people are stuck in this ship for like 5 months, 6 months at a time, 9 months at a time. They don't get to see their family, and they're constantly worried. Some of them don't even have days off. Like our cruise ship was like, boom, they drop people off. There's another cruise right there, same day. Like where they kick everyone out at 8 a.m. By 4 p.m. they're setting sail again, and then they're just like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, whoa, that's absolutely mind blowing. Then there's the controversy about like all the mysteries, people going missing on cruises. Well, that's pretty obvious. I mean, I feel like just falling over. I can't imagine how many people just like falling over. There's got to be at least one person that goes missing, blank, quote unquote missing. But they fall over, whether it's pushed or whatever. I'm like, dang, because I remember looking at it, like looking over the side one night. I'm like, wow, if I fall in, that's literally death right there. Boom, ain't nobody gonna find me. And it's funny because you look into it doesn't seem that far away. I wasn't at the top of the ship. I was just like kind of north towards the middle area, just looking down the railing, and it's just like, oh, like right there was like enough light from the ship itself where you can still see the water. You can see the reflections. Looked right, maybe like 20 feet away. I'm like, wow, look at this water right there. But I'm like, oh, That's literally death. You're staring death in it. Because if you fall over, that ship is not stopping. That ship is not stopping. And even if it does, they're not finding you. They probably stop just to give you just to be like, hey, we stopped. We looked for them. But they know they're not gonna find you. If it's dark enough, it did look like there was a camera. I did look down one of the railings, and I'm like, okay, it looks like there's at least cameras. That's probably like their, I don't know, maybe a legal thing. So people just willfully doing it, or yeah, at least they can get somebody. I know there's like cruise jails. There's like there's jails over there, but or on the ships itself. But yeah, it's like they're definitely not gonna find you. And I'm like, damn, and it's just pitch black out there. What a crazy. It's a unique experience. That's why I do still like it, even though I don't think this experience was quite as good as the first time ever. I think the novelty kind of wore off, but I'm still down to do it. But it's just like, wow, this is what humans have been doing for a very long time, traveling traveling by ship. I mean, this is how my ancestors, I guess, got to America. I don't even have to go that many generations, to be honest. But like 5 generations ago, this is how one dude got here, at least. So it's just very insightful. I think about it a lot. I thought about it a lot. I was able to hit my 15th country that I've ever been to, so that was really cool. That was the Bahamas. That was nice. And then they took, I guess Royal has their own like private island that they bought. Apparently a lot of cruise ships are like buying islands. Cruise line industries are buying islands, and I'm like, whoa, that was pretty cool. That was kind of cool. But I would definitely look for a more unique experience next time, and I would recommend that for anybody else. I'm sure if you're watching this video, then you must know a lot more about cruises than I do. So maybe you know some of the more limited ones. I can't really see myself doing the less popular but good ones. I can't see myself doing like the smaller ones. Maybe one day. But they talk about those riverboat cruises with like 30 people. I'm like, holy crap. That's a whole nother aspect of cruising. So I think overall, like, the industry seems very interesting. I want to continue to do more things like that. And I think it is a very important way to travel. Everyone has their own different styles of traveling. And this is definitely in, I think, my wheelhouse of how I would like to explore more and more places around the world is through cruise lines. But it's definitely not, I wouldn't recommend for everybody.